What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Chats with the Freak. It's a midweek Wednesday edition, which I think I've ever done a Wednesday. I've done recorded Wednesdays before, but I don't think I've ever done an actual live Wednesday before. So I guess we're going to call this a Whack Wednesday? Wacky Wednesday? I don't know. I always try to come up with something crazy to call these. So I don't know. We'll call it a Wacky Wednesday just for sake if I can't think of anything else. But this week I have Michael Vampire from Dead Girls Academy, and I'm very excited to have him on talk about the new record that Dead Girls just dropped. So I'm going to bring him onto the feed to join in on the conversation. What's up, man?
How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. Thank you so much for doing this with me tonight. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so how have you been handling the whole COVID shutdown nonsense with the second wave going on? I thought we were getting done with this shit.
Yeah, I mean, I was living in Los Angeles and I moved to Las Vegas where the rules are not as similar and as crazy. So I know it's there. I'm careful around 75% of the time, and I tend to mess up the other percentile. So I'm still getting drinks. I'm still going out, but I'm being as careful as humanly possible at this moment, at this juncture.
Right. No, I totally get that. I've seen that a lot actually with some of my like other band friends and stuff. They've been moving from LA to Vegas. I was kind of wondering why that was, but if the like restrictions are a little less, that makes sense then.
Yeah, they're a lot less, not a little. Like there's still indoor dining. There's still bars open. There's still, basically everything's available, even the casinos. California is completely shut down. There's no restaurants open whatsoever except for takeout. So they're on some sort of, weird dictatorship thing going on there. It's very scary there. The homeless has basically took over the streets. They don't really know what to do with that situation. So there's just tents. Yeah. So you can imagine the streets are bare, nothing's open, and it's overrun with homeless. So it is definitely a crazy environment over there.
Yeah, that sounds scary. Yeah, one of my best friends has been living in Vegas for probably like 10 or 15 years. And he kept saying, like, everyone's coming over here now. Like, they're coming to my territory. And I kind of thought that was funny, but I was wondering why. So that's kind of cool. Yeah. That, like, at least there's another outlet for people like you and some of the other musician friends I have, having an outlet to still be able to kind of have some sort of normalcy.
Yeah, it does feel normal. In a way, it feels normal. And in other ways, after I do go out, I think I'm dying. So it's usually about 3 or 4 days of me checking myself and chastising myself. And then when I'm feeling okay, the weekend comes around again, and then I tend to do it again. So I'm quite a masochist,
Yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I just did a trip down. I'm in like the Pittsburgh area on the East Coast, and I did a trip down to Nashville probably about 2 weeks ago to do like some live photos. And I was like, I got back. I'm like, am I okay? Am I dying? Oh my god! It's like, wait, I have like my sinuses are puffy. It's like, okay, you were in like 3 different climates in 2 days. That's why your sinuses are puffy. It's going to be okay.
That's so funny. We are very similar in that regard. I actually went to Nashville to record some of this album at the beginning of this pandemic, and I came back thinking I had it 100%. So it was the change in the environments, because when you're in the car, because we drove there because we were scared at the time, but you feel it in the car too. You could feel the change, all the hay and all that shit.
Yeah, no, it was the same for me, because like I drove from my friend's house in PA down, and it was like from like their house it was about like 10 hours, and I'm like driving and I was just like, I feel like death. Oh my god, it's the Rona. And then it was like, no, it's not. Like, it's okay, it's gonna be fine. Like, sanitize your hands, wear a mask, it's gonna be okay.
Exactly. Yeah, man. It's the percentile rate of recovery is 99.98%, I think, for us. So I think if we do end up having this issue, I think we will recover. I feel good about it.
Yeah. I think it's a good thing to still get out and do stuff, like you said, safely. Yeah. And even if, like, I like that there's still bands trying to get out there and do some sort of concerts and stuff like that. Like, I was shooting Steel Panther when I was in Nashville, and they did like one of those socially distanced like indoor shows.
How was that?
It's really cool to kind of be like, okay, this is safe. This is a good vibe. I'm about this.
That's cool. That's awesome. Steel Panther are a blast.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. I love them to death. They're my babe. But yeah, they I thought that was really cool. And then I shot Blue Oyster Cult a couple weeks ago. Well, probably over a month ago now, up in Pittsburgh. They were playing at a winery. And that was another one of those outdoor, like, weird shows. But it was cool to have, like, to still be able to go to a concert right now and have it still be safe and not be, like, worried about other people and, like, oh my God, am I going to get sick? You know?
Right. Yeah, for sure. No, that's really cool. You know, as long as, you know, at this moment, you kind of either are taking a chance with that too, being chastised for wanting to do that and doing it safely, you know? I'm up in the air with it. I'm all for doing it if it's done safely. I just don't know if I want to jump into that boiling pot yet, you know, because they see, you know, Smash Mouth and a lot of bands got crucified for that. So,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of bands that have been getting heat for it. And like, even I remember I posted a snap from Nashville and everyone was like, oh my God, you're traveling. And I'm just like, it's going to be fine. Like, I'm being safe. I'm getting tested. I'm not spreading it. Everything's going to be okay. But yeah, definitely people have their opinions on it. I think that's more of a thing with this than the actual virus, or just how, like, I guess mean people can get and how different the sides can be on it.
That is for sure, man. I mean, there's a lot of tempers flaring, but you know, at the end of the day, when you put an animal in a cage and you put rules on the situation, and then you know, you let them out for a little while, and then you put them back in the cage, everyone's pretty angry. You know, and all the rules are different, so it's not the same for everybody. So everyone's experiencing different versions of this thing, and it's quite interesting because human interaction online has been just the lowest vibration I've ever seen. And I've been part of low vibrations before, but this is insanity. I think the opinionated culture is here, and I don't think it's going anywhere anytime soon.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good point, because like you said, even going from LA to Vegas, the restrictions were totally different. So we are kind of all living a different version of COVID in a way right now, with the states making their own rules. And even if you have friends internationally, I have a friend in France and Hungary and whatnot. So seeing the different restrictions, that's a good point. I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, it's super crazy. It's super crazy. You know, it's just like from Los Angeles to Nevada, my mood has switched completely. I mean, the vibrations that I was receiving there in California were so low that it was making me actually have extreme anxiety and get depressed. And then I moved here, and now all of a sudden that was gone. And energy is a crazy thing. Energy is a crazy thing, and we're dealing with a lot of low vibrations now with the changeover with the president, you know, COVID, and then before that, when I was in LA, it was the riots, you know, the Black Lives Matter riots that were going on protests, riots. Either way, there was a bit of both going on. I could see looting from my window. So it was definitely, you know, it was definitely crazy. But I'm actually very thankful to be here in Nevada right now. Let's just hope the governor stays liberal on everything.
Yeah, and kind of being able to, that definitely seems like a good move. And the more I'm talking to you, the more I understand why people are moving out of LA right now and going to Vegas or wherever the case may be. That makes a lot more sense to me now. Yeah, so enough about COVID. Girls Academy put out a new album, Doves in Glass Houses. And what can you tell me about this record? Because I really like it. I'm a really big fan of it. I kind of want to hear what you have to say about it.
Wow. Well, first of all, thank you. It's really cool to hear that. Now, I mean, this album, I've been sitting on parts of this album now for over a year. When Victory got acquired by Concord and there was a whole change of guard with the record label stuff, we were kind of left on our own to try to figure things out. And, you know, I had put out a single, This Is War, during that time. And then we ended up re-signing with Victory's new label, Mission 2, to put out the full record. So that being said, everything in between has been absolutely bananas. Between the pandemic, writing more songs, trying to shoot music videos during this thing, it's been bananas, man. It is my most personal record I've ever written. On a side note, it has a lot to do with everything I've been through in this last year and a little bit before that. So it's super personal, and it's very cool that you like it, Thang. I appreciate that.
Yeah. No, I really thought it was cool, and I think I keep messing up the name of it, so I have like a note over here. Blackout. That's the name of it. That was my favorite song on the record.
That's
I
awesome.
listened to it. I listened to it on like one of my drives the other day, and I was like, oh, and I just kept going back to that song, and I thought that song was really cool.
Thank
Um,
you.
and I noticed that you guys had put out a lot of videos for this one. Is there? I won't say is there a reason for that, but like it just seemed like you guys put out some more videos than you normally did for previous releases. So I was kind of wondering what like the thought was behind that.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we wanted to keep content flowing. It was a decision, between art, the band, and Mission Two. It was one of those things where we're like, well, people's attention spans right now, being at home, are very short.
Mm-hmm.
When you see how long people actually watch things or listen to music, they usually don't listen to the full song. I mean, even myself, I am guilty of going from the beginning of a song to probably this, the bridge, and then I'm done. I already know
Yeah.
what you're going to do at the end.
Yeah.
It's a terrible way to look at things, but attention spans nowadays are very short. So I wanted to throw the imagery out there so people could really understand what I'm doing, because I feel like aesthetic for a band is just so important. And I think if you were to listen to like per se like Addicted to Your Heart or This Is War without the video being there, you'd be like, this is a different animal than I thought it would be. Now this is what it looks like. I can kind of correlate the song to the band better, and kind of see it visually and feel it. So aesthetic, that's the reason. Aesthetic and
Okay.
short attention spans.
That makes sense. Yeah, I totally get that. There's been, I think, social media is a big thing, and I've said this a lot because I've been trying to get into doing different aspects in the music industry, not just like my podcast and whatnot. And I've been learning a lot about social media algorithms and all that nonsense. And it's crazy to me. And I have a bad attention span with stuff, to be honest
Right.
with you. So I will be going through Spotify and be like, I don't know about that. I'll just like skip through it. So I guess that is kind of a cool way to look at it. What I never thought of it like as an aesthetic way that's what keeps my attention
Of
um,
course.
from something.
It's
So that's a
it's.
cool way to
I
look
mean,
at it.
the shirt you're wearing right now. I mean, the man, like all of Manson's stuff.
Yeah.
Like if you're to listen to his songs, you'll definitely like it. But then you see it, and you're like, oh, this is not what I expected. Like his new album, We Are Chaos, right? You hear the
Oh
song
yeah.
and it has that Western vibe, but then you see a video and you're like, oh, okay, it's still him, and you get
Mhm.
that dark feeling from the aesthetic, and then you correlate it with the song, and it's weird how that this meshes together like that. It's interesting.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. I feel like there's a lot of bands, and a band that does that a lot that doesn't get talked about is Alice in Chains. They do that a lot.
Very cool.
Especially on their last record for Rainier Fog, they had like a whole video series on YouTube for like every single song. And it was really rad to kind of be like, oh, that's a different way to look at it. Because it was this whole other story that I didn't even connect with it. And it was so cool to kind of see that. So yeah, there is something to be said for pairing videos with songs. I totally think that that's a good way to keep people's attention.
Oh, for sure. I definitely agree. Definitely agree.
Yeah. So what I guess we were talking about social media, obviously, and stuff, but how would you say it's different promoting a record in a pandemic rather than normally? Because obviously you can't go out and tour it for
Right.
obvious reasons. So would you say social media is playing a bigger role in how you promote it rather than before?
I think it's the only role. I mean, in all honesty, before it was about 75%. And now I think obviously now it is 100%.
Mm-hmm.
The touring definitely supplemented your online personality. Personally, what's interesting that I have actually found out is that more bands, artists, rappers, whichever, are more influencers now than they are total musicians. You got to have a platform now. You have to have a fan base to gravitate towards the music. So they got to like you first, and then they'll like the music second. And that's something that has grown into that. And I think the pandemic just made it happen faster, because
Mm-hmm.
now it took every musician and put them on the same plane, because rock and roll is a competition. It's a competition world where rap and hip hop, they all help each other out a lot. And that community is very helpful in collaborations and whatever they do on that level. And I mean, and rock and roll really needs to take note of that, and kind of jump on that bandwagon as well, because the more we help each other, the bigger rock will be and the more of a resurgence we will have. But right now, that community is definitely above rock because we are all still in a competition, even though there is no touring. So if we all came together online and used the streaming platforms and the socials to help each other and to build it, it would be just a more successful community. So streaming right now has, it's giant, but it's more giant now than it ever was. Podcasts. Imagine podcasts. Do you remember podcasts when you were younger? Like, that was a thing.
Yeah.
And now it's a bigger thing. It's because the personality behind the podcast is drawing the people in. And the singularity of being an individual artist or performer is bigger than it ever was. Bands almost seem, not as prevalent as a solo artist right now. That's my personal opinion on it. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's kind of funny because we were talking before we went live about, I was listening to like some TikTok rapper my friend got me on. But it's true because these people like make like these crazy TikTok videos, they go viral, and then it's like I end up jamming to like this one random song on Spotify for like 3 hours straight because of like it's like a domino effect. So I totally get your point on that. I totally agree. And I kind of do the same thing with like my podcast and stuff. Like I'll post dumb stuff on Instagram to like try to get people's attention and then be like, oh hey, I'm going live, go check this out.
Right.
It definitely works like counteracting that. I think to a degree some people take it too seriously. Like they have like this, it's kind of like in wrestling where you have like kayfabe per se, where you have like the certain character and people like always have to be like that. It's like, no, it's not that serious. Just like post what, you know what I mean? Like post stuff to keep people engaged. Like there has to be something behind it, obviously. But I think some people take it way too seriously. Like, oh, I can't post a picture of my cat because that doesn't go with my character or my brand. It's like there's something to be said for that, but I don't think it needs to be that serious, if you know what I mean.
It's just there's so much money behind the scenes and the game that the branding just needs to be dead on. And it's interesting because you see Travis Barker with his label DTA, and you see Jaden and his son and all these people that have 4.3 million followers on Instagram, and you're like, oh my God, where did this guy come from? And then all of a sudden he's like, you know what? I'm bored. I'm gonna start a band. And then all of a sudden he's the most streamed artist on Spotify. I mean, it's interesting how that platform, whether it be TikTok or YouTube or whatever it is actually creating the new musicians of tomorrow. And people like myself that have been around doing this for 20 years, I'm playing catch up. I'm literally trying to become more of an influencer online to try to interact with my fans so they can understand me more rather than just putting out a body of work. So it has to be like a combined thing now. It's interesting how that is. And, people that are very lucky, like a Marilyn Manson, who established that aesthetic so early on and just kept consistent and kept doing it, the hip hop community noticed and all these clothing lines noticed. And so his face is on all these things and he became a cultural icon yet again. But for people like myself and, bands that are pushing really hard and grinding every inch, it's a new world and it's very interesting. And it's very hard to navigate. So I'm learning, though. It's getting better.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's all like a game. At the end of the day, you always have to learn what you need to do. It's kind of like a freaking jigsaw puzzle and trying to put it together to get your music out. Because I think at the end of the day, I think a lot of people are very receptive to a lot of different varieties of music. And I don't think that one genre is necessarily, because I know a lot of genres get compared a lot and they say like, oh, well, like rap is more popular than rock or whatever. I don't think that's necessarily true. I think if music was more accessible and your music is out there, like you were saying, as an influencer, your stuff's out there more, people are more receptive to kind of whatever is there. It just has to depend on what it's getting it to them, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Of course. I mean, the more people you reach, the bigger the brand will be. And these people that have these bigger platforms that are using social media like that have a very big platform, and and they're able to reach a lot more people and a lot more people quickly. So, you know, a lot of bands that never been on Instagram or whatever, and I see them too. They're joining now, and it's interesting seeing how they're trying to interact to try to gain momentum in the world we're living in right now. But it's hard. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's fun. You know, this is the most fun industry, the entertainment industry. I mean, you can't beat it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's crazy though, talking about TikTok and hashtags and all that nonsense. It's like, what is this? Like, if you would have asked me in February when I was on tour doing photos, that if I would have been like, what the fuck is TikTok? And now I'm just over here like binge watching TikTok for like an hour straight. It's crazy how this year has shaped everybody.
Yep, it's changing. It's ever changing.
It's crazy. So before we went into a pandemic, I do know that you have done, obviously with Dead Girls Academy and Vampires Everywhere, you've toured with a variety of people. I've actually shot you guys before when you were on tour with John 5 and the Creatures. I think it was like 2 years ago now?
Wow.
Year and a half, 2 years ago, somewhere in there. That was a pretty dope tour. I guess I just wanted to ask you, because when I was going through, I know you've done a lot of work with Ronnie Radke going back to Vampires Everywhere. I kind of wanted to ask you what it was like working with him, because I'm a big Falling in Reverse fan. So I kind of was just wondering what it was like doing work with him and how the collaboration worked out.
I think it was great. I mean, you know, we had lived together for almost 2.5 years, you know, playing musical houses. And when I was on Warped Tour with him in 2016, I was just, you know, hitching a ride on the bus. I was bored. There's nothing to do. And so a bunch of people approached me of a higher nature and said, "Oh man, you should do a new band." And I was just knee deep in restarting Vampires, and I was really into it. And everyone, you know, these very large people, I won't name them, but they were just like, "Yo, you should try to move on and rebrand." And these people are so influential to me that I had to do it. It was one of those things where it's like, you know, you won the golden ticket for a minute, you might as well check out the factory. So I ended up going in that direction. And the key element, I was telling Ronnie, I was like, I'm so stuck in my niche. I will have no idea how to go about going this direction. I haven't wrote this kind of music in a very long time. So he was like, "Don't worry about it. I'll produce it and write it with you, and we'll go in that direction." And it was a process. It wasn't easy because I wrote an octave or even more above my range. And trying to sing those notes were quite interesting. So if you're in the studio there trying to listen to that, that would have been funny. But other than that, I mean, it was great. I love learning from people, and I learned a lot from him as well as a songwriter. You know, I'm a songwriter myself, so watching somebody else do their magic self-assured me a lot more. I understood my self-worth a lot more, because you think certain people have these magical things they do that make it happen, you know. Yeah. But when you find out that you guys are, you know, kind of on the same wavelength of how you go about doing things, it makes you a lot more comfortable with writing. So, I mean, it was an excellent experience. I wouldn't hate, you know, I talked to him today. I wouldn't hate doing another single with him in the future or something like that. So, great experience. Good one.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, I love hearing that, because I haven't really, like, I know he has like a weird I guess reputation, but I've never really like heard anybody that actually knew him that's had a problem. So I think that's really cool, and it's very reassuring to me. So Ronnie Radke, I love you, even though I've never met you. So yeah, I think that's all I have for you today, man. I really appreciate you taking time to talk with me, and I'm gonna link all of Dead Girls Academy stuff in the description of this, so everyone can go check out the new record and all the awesome videos you guys have been working on.
Well, I appreciate you having me. Obviously, let me have all the links so I can share with my fans and all that good stuff. And you know, hopefully we can do it again and take some pictures in the future.
Hey, yeah, definitely, man. Thank you so much for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
Of course, anytime. Thank you.
Have a good night, dude.
Bye.